The notion that global warming is a satanic mission to undermine Jesus may seem far-fetched to many, but this is a perspective that has been gaining traction in certain circles. At its core, this idea suggests that the forces of evil, led by Satan, are using the issue of global warming to distract humanity from the true message of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. According to this line of thinking, the focus on environmentalism and the need to reduce carbon emissions is a clever ruse designed to lead people away from the path of righteousness and towards a secular, humanistic worldview. Proponents of this idea point to the fact that many of the world's leading environmental organizations and activists are secular or even anti-Christian in their outlook. They argue that these individuals and groups are using the issue of global warming to promote a radical, left-wing agenda that is antithetical to the values of Christianity. By emphasizing the need for drastic action to combat climate change, these activists are, in effect, creating a sense of panic and urgency that can be exploited to further their own ideological goals. Furthermore, some argue that the emphasis on environmentalism and the need to save the planet is a form of idolatry where the creation is elevated above the creator. This, they claim, is a classic tactic of Satan, who seeks to turn humanity away from the worship of God and towards the worship of false idols. In this case, the idol is the earth itself, and the rituals and sacrifices demanded by the environmental movement are a form of worship that is fundamentally at odds with the teachings of Christianity. In addition, the idea of global warming as a satanic mission to undermine Jesus is often linked to the concept of a new world order or a one-world government. According to this perspective, the push for global cooperation and collective action to combat climate change is, in reality, a covert attempt to establish a totalitarian, secular regime that will ultimately supplant national sovereignty and individual freedom. This, of course, is seen as a direct threat to the values and principles of Christianity, which emphasizes the importance of individual conscience and the freedom to worship God without interference from the state. It is also worth noting that some Christian leaders and theologians have pointed out that the Bible contains numerous references to the importance of stewardship and caring for the earth. However, they argue that this does not necessarily mean that Christians should support the radical, secular agenda of the environmental movement. Instead, they claim that a properly Christian approach to environmentalism would emphasize the importance of responsible stewardship and wise use of natural resources, rather than the extremist, alarmist rhetoric that often characterizes the secular environmental movement. In conclusion, while the idea that global warming is a satanic mission to undermine Jesus may seem extreme or even absurd to many, it is a perspective that is gaining traction in certain circles. Proponents of this idea argue that the emphasis on environmentalism and the need to combat climate change is a clever ruse designed to lead humanity away from the teachings of Christianity and towards a secular, humanistic worldview. Whether or not one accepts this perspective, it is clear that the issue of global warming has become a highly politicized and polarizing topic, with profound implications for the future of our planet and our way of life. As such, it is essential that Christians and non-Christians alike approach this issue with a critical and nuanced perspective, recognizing the complexities and challenges that it presents, while also being mindful of the deeper spiritual and philosophical dimensions that underlie the debate.